let us talk about development, sustainable development, because one way or other, it's lack of development, it's poverty, it's economic crisis that pushes communities to conflict, to war. So, in your view, what are the main challenges of sustainable development in Eastern Africa, in the Horn of Africa?
Well, lucky for me, it's very clear. The recent withdrawal of the US aid, that just opened every other person's eyes. And I'll give you an example of my country. I come from South Sudan, like I said. This is one country, we always say we are young, though we're not, we're now teenagers. And South Sudan has been in a situation where we've been focusing more on trying to attain peace other than looking at our resources. So in that mesh, or in that mix of everything, we now depend on donors. We depend on whoever can give us money, whoever can give us support, whoever can accommodate our refugees in their countries, whoever can train our law enforcement, whoever is willing to support. So when the US aid withdrew their support, I know it didn't just happen to South Sudan. I'm using it because that's my home. When they withdrew their support, a lot of people lost their jobs. So many businesses collapsed. And then you wonder, why is a business collapsing? Because, you know, some funds have been withdrawn, yet it's supposed to, you know, to be sustainable. Now, what I'm saying is member states need to start utilizing the resources they have, because Africa is rich, and stop, you know, depending on the foreign aid, depending on the EU funding and all that stuff, because it's really not helping us. Once they take what they gave us, we fall. But if we had something, if we were leaning on our oil reserves, if we were leaning on our minerals and all that we have on our land, and they withdraw their aid, will be like, okay, fine, we can bring back our refugees, and with the resources that we have, we can accommodate them. We can do A, B, C, D. But then one thing, a trick that I usually say, it's a joke on us. What they did to us is to confuse us with these small conflicts. So if you look at this conflict, it's really unnecessary, but we are playing into the game. As we fight, someone is taking care of our minerals and all that. So by the time we are done fighting, we will have nothing to go back to, except go back to the same people that instigated the fight, so that we can lean on their aid. And then when they withdraw it, we are down. So it's a circle of doing the same thing over and over again. So if only our leaders could learn from that. And I'm looking at this from a perspective where, assuming our leaders are already elderly, so their time is up, it's now up to us, the young people, to not fall into their footsteps. We learn the positive things that they have done and leave out where they failed us. We appreciate them for the efforts, but we cannot follow in their footsteps where, in the Gen Z language, where they sold us, they did us dirty, right? So the young people, we need to work together. Like my colleague from Kenya, Sarah, said earlier, you meet one person today, tomorrow the person is either your friend or your brother, or whatever develops in between them. So if we bring our hands together as young minds, we can come up with something that can be sustainable. We can be able to develop our nations, our continent, and our region.
Yes,
so
understood. Sorry for interruption. Leadership is, of course, one of the problems that set back African development. But what are other factors, like environmental factors, desertification, deforestation, climate change, and others?
Yeah, we do have climate change issues. It's actually the major one, because in South Sudan right now, we have something we call heat wave. South Sudan is running at, there's a point it hit 45 degrees Celsius, but it's between 39 and 40. It's not healthy for the human brain. Schools have been shut down, so no education, no development of the country. So that is the effect of climate change. At the same time, during the rainy season, that is if it happens again, we have floods. So the country, one side is dry, the other side, people's homes are swimming in a pool of water. So climate change is an issue. And then we also have health issues. We have diseases that have come up, I think maybe due to the aftermath of the war. We're having malnutrition happening in the country because, of course, the land is now dry. Farming is hard. People do not have money. And so people are not feeding right. They're not feeding well. So children are not getting the nutrition that they need. And people have no access to the right medication. So we have health, we have climate, we have so many issues other than leadership that is affecting our development.
Yeah. Obaj, what are other environmental factors that set back Africa's development?
I want to go back to your first question that you said that the African countries are poor, or maybe the East Africa countries are poor. I disagree with that statement because...
Sorry, remind me that statement.
Because you said the African countries are poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are under development, if I'm not mistaken from your question. Mm-hmm. But if I look at the situation, let's say South Sudan and Sudan, or maybe Uganda, like there is a lot of resources, but we have issues of corruption and mismanagement in the system itself. I can give an example. In 2011, when South Sudan got independence, South Sudan got away with the, let me say, 80% of the oil. And then we used to receive the oil money on daily basis, a lot of money. And then there was also money that from donors, she said it earlier, the USAID. But then there was no kind of vision how to utilize these resources you have. We have oil, we have other minerals like gold, but then you find there is a clique of few people that are one enjoying these resources. And then there is no kind of how do you distribute these resources, or how do you translate resources into development. Like Addis Ababa in 2014, it's not like Addis Ababa in 2025, because I was here. You find every day there is development in terms of infrastructure, roads, buildings. But then in some other countries, the money, when it's there, it's been used by individuals. Let me put it clear, by politicians, sons of ministers. They're buying houses in other countries instead of building their own system. Like you have to provide, let me put it, the service to the people, health, roads. I will give you another example. Our country signed an agreement with China to build roads. And that every day they will pay Chinese about 30,000 barrels of crude oil per day for the road construction. After like 5 years, that road they build is only 63 kilometers. And that road is not a standard. So I cannot say you blame like our country is poor. We're not poor. But we have the issue of leadership and
no country is poor.
Coming to issue of climate. Climate is something just happened of reason. I can say like in our countries, like the floods, it was in 2021. Before there were no floods. But then we have the issue of environmental effect of even the oil itself. Those who are the companies, like majority of the Chinese companies and then other Asians, they take oil, but then they don't care about the environment. It's another, like now we have issue of this, you mentioned issue of the heat wave. It's not to be there. And issue of floods in Unity State, one of the states in South Sudan. All these contribute to issue of the system itself. It's not in place. So this is what I can say. Thank you.
Yes. But I fully accept the assertion, your explanation that Africans are not poor. In fact, no country is poor.
Yes.
I mean, as a famous philosopher Noam Chomsky said, no country is poor. It is the people who make the country poor or rich. Agree. 100% agree with you. Diana, let me come to you.
One question, one addition, it just is lack of, you need a charismatic leader.
Charismatic.
Like late John Magufuli of Tanzania. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Diana, lots of factors, environmental factors like flood, heat wave, climate change are being figured out by our fellow journalists, Ekan and Obaj. So what countries of Eastern Africa should do to combat such crisis, such environmental crisis like deforestation, desertification, floods, and other climate crises?
I don't know. Some time back there was a policy. Actually, different leaders in Uganda have been coming up with policies. You cut one tree, you plant 10. Huh? NEMA. I don't know what happened along the way.
Yeah.
You know, there was a time, National Environment Management Authority, yeah, that is NEMA. It had come up with such a strategy that afforestation was the order of the day. They put in a lot of investment, but you see things to do with Uganda. It's one step ahead, 2 steps back because of corruption. Along the way, something gets messed up and a certain project ends on the way. So our leaders should do something, first of all, to combat corruption. It is the major disease in Uganda. You see, NEMA had come up with such a strategy, but I'm sure that even officials from NEMA themselves failed it. It went to individuals. I see some individuals now trying to do it themselves, but of course the government has to have an upper hand to support us in regards to afforestation, so that actually there should be strict laws on deforestation. You find people, we have Mabira Forest. I don't know if you've heard of it. Mabira Forest used to be a very big forest, but now the trees are just by the roadside. So when you see the trees, you think, wow, it's a beautiful forest. But as you go inside, just a few meters from the road, you'll find people's houses. So where do those people get permission to build houses without the government consent? Of course, there has to be someone behind it. So that takes us back to the corruption. Corruption in our country is failing us.
We are about to finalize our interview. Let's wrap up the interview with your view regarding regional integration. As you know, institutions like IGAD, Intergovernmental Authority on Development, and other regional organizations and blocs are established to foster peace, development, and integration in the region. So how countries of Eastern Africa, countries of Horn of Africa, and IGAD member states work to foster regional integration?
African country, and especially those that are in the IGAD region, produce so many goods. Coffee, tea, flowers, meat, so many goods, apart from now the minerals. But you find that those goods remain in the country. We use those goods directly from the farm. There is no value addition, and we don't take any effort to add value. So that we export coffee, it is like that. We send it to Britain and to Europe, and there they go, they value add it, and then they sell it back to us. So that is one of the challenges that we have. We sell goods low, whereas if we add value to them, they can fetch us some good money. The other problem is trade barriers. So many trade barriers that hinder trade. Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, the East African community, they are a community, but you still find that we cannot trade with Tanzania. Sometimes we send some chicks to Tanzania, they are killed. We trade with Uganda, there are barriers to that trade. So that we find that we cannot trade well, so that Ugandans are not sending their goods to Kenya, and we are not sending some of the goods to Kenya. The same case to corruption. We find that we have a port, but Ugandans are not using the port through Kenya. They are using Uganda. So that we are losing just because of corruption.
Let me come to you, Nalista. Trade ties, economic ties between the neighboring countries of Eastern Africa is extremely very low in comparison with the expectation. Yeah. So what governments in Eastern Africa should do to boost regional integration?
I think the government needs to work together. They need to work together to open the borders for trade and encourage Africans to trade together, because the products we have, like what we produce in Kenya, maybe in Uganda they don't have it in plenty. And we only have, actually from Kenya to Uganda is a very short distance. We can be able to trade with them very well. And you see, if it's possible to open these borders for trade, you'd find that we would be able to, the farmer from the farm, the product would be able to be sold at a very good rate. Unlike when we have these government brokers who come in and steal, let me put it as steal from the farmers. So if we open up these borders, we would have these opportunities to understand what does this country need that we have in plenty and we can supply. And this way, we can be able to even unite and have a common market, you know.
I wish I could stay with you more, but we are restricted by time and we need to close the program here. And thank you very much for sharing your golden perspectives and views regarding peace, development and integration in East Africa. I do appreciate your views and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
for having us.
Well done. That was my fascinating interview with my fellow journalists from IGAD member states. I do hope so that you enjoyed the program as much as I did. Many thanks for watching and bye for now.